Welcome, everybody, to the BOB show. I'm Franco.
You said BOB show. It's BFF show.
Damn it. Let's try that again.
This was your moment
I know. Count
to
me in.
intro the show. Do it one more time. Do it one more time.
Okay. Go ahead.
This is all part of the show, by the way, but I want you to redo it right now.
Okay. Count me in.
All right, in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome, everyone, to the BFF show. I'm Franco.
And I'm Brendan.
And we have plenty of great topics to talk about today. Brendan, take it
Look
away.
at you. Yeah, look at you, Franco. Oh, see, challenge accepted. Much like I'm going to equate this to the race. You took that race down. You took the intro down. It's all on the same level. Franco, busy week in sports. Lots going on. We are 2 weeks away from the Super Bowl. The Pro Bowl is this weekend for the 5 of you who care. Franco, do you watch the Pro Bowl at all?
I haven't watched it literally since I think I was 13, and it was in Hawaii.
Yeah. I think that's a thing you watch when you're a young kid because you're just like, football's fun. And you're like, ooh, extra football. And you can't quite notice the poor quality until you get older and you're like, wait, they're not even trying. They're just kind of slapping people around and high-fiving the opposing team. I have no interest in this. And David Carr was named from the Raiders. And it's just like, really?
All right, so this is your rewind moment.
Oh, Derek.
David didn't play for the Raiders at any point. Derek Carr.
One of the Carr boys.
Now, mind you,
really,
David Carr did play on like 11 different teams, but the Raiders were not one of them. Yeah.
But would you? Here's a serious question. If you were just watching the Pro Bowl blind without any intro and you just started watching it, would you tell the difference between David and Derek?
I mean, probably not. Especially after this year, they look pretty similar, right?
They look similar.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're not gonna watch it. But what we did watch last week was the championship games in the AFC and the NFC. Franco, let's start with the Jaguars Patriots. That was a game that I thought for a second, tiny second, the Jaguars had a shot at it. Although I feel like, and many analysts also pointed this out, I was surprised at the end of the half with 55 seconds left and a couple timeouts. They just took a knee, the Jaguars, and walked away with the lead of a three-point lead. And I thought that was a poor decision. And then from there, it just got worse. There's a lot to kind of unpack there, Franco. But what stood out to you during that game?
I mean, I think what really stood out was one, that taking the knee with time left to at least go for the field goal when their offense was actually running pretty well. Which was not the case in the second half. I think what really stood out too as well is just how, and I realize if we broke down the statistics and the number, how much it feels like whenever the Patriots play that they tend to get a lot of calls go their direction. Like if I see a deep ball thrown during a Patriots game and it's not a catch, I think if I was betting in Vegas, I'd say it's a 3-1 chance that it's probably going to be a penalty no matter what happened. And there were some pretty ticky-tacky calls going on there. Because Jalen Ramsey played pretty much how he played all year, which made him a Pro Bowl corner. But some of that stuff now suddenly was a pass interference call, and it made a big difference during the game.
You did have the Gronkowski hit, which sent him to concussion protocol, which I was hoping for because honestly, while it was a tough hit, I don't know. I don't think it was intentional.
No,
it was because it was how can you stop, and at that point, what can you do? It was unfortunate for sure because you don't ever want to see any player get knocked out.
Yep.
But it really ended up not mattering because all of a sudden Danny Amendola came out of nowhere and became another one of those Patriots guys that you don't really know or hear too much about that all of a sudden wins the game for you. But Gronkowski is now listed on the injury sheet. I'm willing to bet he's in the Super Bowl. They will do whatever they have to get him there, whether it's all on the up and up or not. But Franco, did you think that hit was illegal or there was anything fishy about it?
No. I think if you watch the replay, the player was leading with the shoulder, and the helmet-to-helmet was kind of consequential of the way they hit each other. I don't think it should have been a penalty. And I think it's terrible he got a concussion, but 8 weeks ago, he loaded up and hit something in the back of the head and slammed it into the ground.
Yep.
That's a dirty hit. The hit he got hit with was
Yep.
a hit in the course of the game. I think that's the big difference between the two things. Obviously, we hope he's okay because he's a human being.
Yeah.
I really don't care about him as a football player. I mean, I do call him Dirtbag Rob for a reason. So
Yep.
I will pose you this question. Whenever Rob Gronkowski goes down, we have someone step up. Chris Hogan, Damian Amendola, James White. If Rob Gronkowski didn't play for the Patriots over his entire career, would he be as good as he is? Because we saw
That's a
this with
great
Jimmy
question.
Graham. When he played for the Saints, he was a fantastic tight end. Gets traded to the Seahawks, where he's not in the same system, and he's not a bad tight end, but he's not a Pro Bowl level tight end. So if Gronk is anywhere else, is he still Gronk?
I think that you probably have a shorter window on him. I think you still have that maybe 2 to 3 years of excellence because it's just a beast physically. I don't know if the system outside of the Patriots around any other team would be good for him because he seems to be contained enough during the season with that culture there that I don't think he would be. He's not a problem. He kind of gets negated in this a little bit. And I think again the system and the other players that are around him help him out.
Yep.
I think if you put Rob Gronkowski on the Browns, you put him on maybe the Colts this year. He's not going to be as good, and I think you're going to see him get way more frustrated and probably thrown out of games. It would remind me of Randy Moss and Warren Sapp when they were on the Raiders, and that sort of they were left unchecked, and especially Warren Sapp has been spectacular last game with the Raiders, which was back-to-back personal fouls that ended up getting ejected from the game. Like that was just a personality that went rampant. I think that's what you would potentially see with Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I'll give you this comparison. I think Rob Gronkowski is Jared Cook. Jared Cook came in the league with the Titans, had a huge altitude problem, kind of perpetuated itself through different offensive coordinators, ended up bouncing around the league, really didn't find himself until he ended up at Green Bay, and then with the Raiders this year. I think had we seen Gronk on the Browns or the Titans or the Raiders, I'm not sure he makes it through his first 2 years without getting himself in trouble somehow. I think the Patriots culture is literally the only place a player like him could be successful and be managed. And that's my hot take on Gronk. Or Dirtbag Rob,
Well-
I'm sorry. I'm not going to give him the nickname Gronk. I feel like it's glorifying his boneheadedness.
I'll throw out another name for you that this maybe that is fun to bring up. Jeremy Shockey. Jeremy
Yes.
Shockey on the Giants was kind of the same had a more harsher attitude. I think Gronk gets labeled for better or worse as he's a lovable guy. Again, we can have that argument, but that'd be a whole other show. I don't agree with that statement.
I don't either.
But Jeremy Shockey's a guy that, in the Giants culture at least, was semi-contained because you also had Tiki Barber, you had Michael Strahan, you had large personalities. He gets injured, he doesn't play in the Super Bowl in 2007, leaves for the Saints, and is not the same player at all. And the attitude, it does not fly there, and then he's quickly out of the league. So I think that's the best comparison I can think of in recent modern times of what Rob might look like outside the Patriots. But we did have one other game to talk about. We had the Eagles and we had the Minnesota Vikings. This one was disappointing because it felt like the Minnesota Vikings didn't show up. They looked like they had already had their Super Bowl celebration last week when they beat the Saints, and it just was a weird game where it just didn't feel like anything was right. You had Case Keenum that had looked really well. And Franco, my question to you is, did the Eagles expose Case Keenum, or can you not really lay this all on his feet?
I don't think you lay this on his feet. I think they were on an emotional high from the week before, and some teams can catch that emotion and ride it, and some teams, that's where they peak. I think they peaked, and they came back down.
Yeah.
The Eagles' defense is a different beast than the Saints' defense, and they're probably the best defense the Vikings have seen in a while, given the schedule at the end of the season. So I think that was kind of a shock. And I think once they got down, it was hard to come back. I wouldn't even call it a game. It was a first half and then a bit of a clock running exercise. But the real question is, I mean, we know the Eagles are going on, but what happens in Minnesota now that the season's over? Do you resign? All three quarterbacks are free agents. You have Case Keenum, Bradford, and my man, Teddy Bridgewater. Do they sign two of them? Do they sign one of them? Which one do they sign? Go.
I say keep Bridgewater.
Yep.
Because I think you don't know quite what you have with him yet. If he can come back and be the guy that he was before the injury, great. I think you say bye-bye to Case Keenum because I don't know how you justify $25 million contract for that guy when if you, and again, it's gonna be a knock against him, but I think for all the good that he did this year, you have to look at the whole career. And this guy was not a number one starter for most teams. He's been a journeyman. He's been traveling around. No one expected this. So I don't think you can all of a sudden look at 1 year and say, Case Keenum, you're the man now. And I think for Bradford, he has his chance. I think it's let him test the free agent market if he really wants to. And then if he's available still, maybe he'll re-sign. But again, Bradford's another guy. It's not like you don't know what you got. And, talk to the Rams, talk to the Vikings. It's not like he lit the world on fire. I think you just keep Bridgewater, and then maybe you go deeper in the draft and see if you have a quarterback prospect you want to work out and see, and then go back in the free agency during the off league. What do you think, Franco?
I think the smart move is Bridgewater, and I think Zimmer likes Bridgewater a lot. I think if they can sign Bridgewater at a discounted rate, which I think they'll probably be able to given his history of injury and the fact that it was such a bad injury, if you get him at $6 million over 5 years, that gives you room to maybe sign a Case Keenum back. I think Bradford's not a reality. You can't stay healthy. You already have Bridgewater, who's a risk, and he's been good in spurts, but never consistently. So, and I think people don't remember how good Case Keenum was in college. He was undrafted, but when he was at Houston, he set a lot of records. The big knock was he came from a non-pro style offense and some other stuff that happened. But I think Keenum will be a decent NFL quarterback moving forward, depending on where he lands. If it's Cleveland, it's Josh McCown all over again. Where he had a good season replacing someone and then had struggled. If he ends up at a situation like the Vikings where he's the backup, gets called up, I think he'll play well.
I think it's also a good time to reinvest in Bridgewater because the offensive coordinator, Pat Shurmur's now has been named the head coach of the Giants, so you get an opportunity there with a new offensive coordinator that you can actually build around. Franco, we won't get into details of our picks. We're going to save our Super Bowl picks for next week, but is this, and I want to ask this question because it's come up in sports media, is this the worst potential Super Bowl we could have got this year? Because people seem to feel like they're tired of Tom Brady. The Eagles are backup quarterback-led Nick Foles, and it doesn't have the excitement, if you will. I'm going to hold my opinion. I want to hear yours first.
I don't know if it's the worst game. I think it's the least exciting game, if that makes sense. If you're not a hardcore football fan and you're a casual viewer, people are fatigued on Tom Brady. People know who Nick Foles is. The Philly fan base has really alienated a lot of the nation, so has New England's fan base. It's kind of like the presidential election all over again. Neither candidate's well-liked. One will eventually win. Who do you really root for? I'm not sure. One's really, really bad. One's... I don't know. I won't get into who I believe is really, really bad because that's a political thing. We're not a political show. So it's not the worst, but what do you think?
I don't think it's the worst. I agree with you. I think it's the least exciting football Super Bowl that I've seen in a while because I don't care about either team, and I think I would be definitely more excited if it was Carson Wentz. Vegas actually would be more excited about that because it would be a pick'em game if Wentz was playing, but the line right now is about -4 in favor of the Patriots. So I think and the Eagles are underdog again. It just doesn't have that juice, and I think you're going to get a lot of manufactured stories from here until the Super Bowl. And I think the only thing remaining is, if Tom Brady wins again, it's kind of weird. I think it'll take maybe 20 years to appreciate Tom Brady more than I think that I do now. That's for me. I'll probably appreciate him more when he's gone and gets the chance to breathe and we get some new people involved. But We'll see. I think it's going to be an interesting game. I'm curious to see how it works out, but I do have a 10% chance feeling that this could be a blowout one way or the other. I feel like this is ripe for an off Super Bowl year, Franco, where we get one of those awful blowout games that no one really wants to pay attention to.
To be fair, that's the same argument people gave about last year. It was
Well, we
uninteresting.
almost had it.
Matt Ryan versus Tom Brady, isn't that? Matt Ryan's not fantastic. The Patriots going to roll over them. So I don't know. We'll have to see what happens when the game is played. That's the thing about the Super Bowl.
I agree with you, but that was for the first half of last year. That was when it was like, what is happening? And then it was like, oh my God, what is happening? And it got sad. It got sad.
It did get a little sad.
But speaking of, it got a little sad. And then speaking of football, Franco, you and I, oh boy, this is something that is the convergence, the Venn diagram of our interest in football and professional wrestling. This sits right in that heart of the center, my friend, and that is the announcement today from Vincent Kennedy McMahon that he is bringing back the XFL in the year 2020. So get excited, 2 years. The quick highlights from the news conference. Essentially, this was a press conference to announce an announcement, and that's it. We didn't get any major details.
No details whatsoever.
None whatsoever. It's just we got a lot of management speak of like, we are going to listen to the fans. It's going to be a different kind of football. It'll be family friendly. Vince teased that maybe there's no halftime and it's going to be a 2-hour game. And it's only going to be nobody that has a DUI can play, which I was like, that's like the one thing that he's really promoting. But I besides that, it was a weird press conference. 8 teams only, no franchise teams, which I thought was interesting. All owned and operated by Vince's main company. Vince also saying that this may be one of the few times you see him out front and that he's working on hiring executives to manage and lead. This is a different method of doing the business that he did last time for a variety of reasons. He was selling his own personality along with the XFL. In this new incarnation in 2020, there will be no WWE cross references or crossovers. They did a lot of that at the beginning of the last XFL incarnation. So, Franco, what were your thoughts when you read about this or saw the press announcement?
I mean, it's interesting. I think it might be successful. The CFL has existed in Canada for a while with a different model. As long as it doesn't get too big, I think if it stays kind of like how hockey has the AHL and the USHL, things like that. If it doesn't get that big blow up and it's on like not Spike TV because Spike TV doesn't exist anymore, but whatever the new Paramount channel is or one of those other channels, I think it'll survive. I think it's interesting. I think it'll be good for other college players that haven't had a chance to break in the NFL to have a chance to go play somewhere. It gives us kind of the Kurt Warner stories. I know it's arena football, but same idea.
Still, yeah.
I think it has a chance to succeed as long as they get rid of, again, manufacturing storylines, the whole any name you want on the back of your shirt kind of thing, that kind of crap.
Yeah. I don't think you're going to see everybody rush for the football like you did in the XFL. They got rid of that, I think, after the first week. And they went back to traditional kickoffs. I don't think you're going to see an emphasis on cheerleaders in the way that it was emphasized last time around. I think it's going to be interesting to see what this is. He keeps touting family friendly, and we are going to have rules where if you can, there's a time and a place. There's a time and a place to protest, and it's not going to be on the games. And it's just like, what exactly is this going to look like, and how can you really legislate that? But in a weird way, I'm excited because I want to see if this is going to be another train wreck. I don't know if this is going to be good. I'll be curious as all hell to see what the teams are because he's not releasing that. I'm assuming it's going to be major teams, but part of me thinks maybe not. Maybe he's going to go for sort of like a deep south where football is everything push and not really think about a New York team or a Los Angeles team. If he's really, and if this is sort of prompted by what's been going on in the NFL, I would not be surprised that you have a Midwest XFL league only and the coasts are not really involved. And I think maybe that's what he does. That was my initial thought with the way he was talking.
I think we have the coast involved, but I think you see the cities that have been kind of vying for NFL teams but have lost them. So I think we see a San Diego XFL team. I think we see a Portland, Oregon XFL team. If he's smart, we'll see one in Nebraska, and we'll see one in these major, again, football belts, the Rust Belt almost too, where you have football is big but there's no professional team. I think he'll try to capitalize on that if he's smart. If he goes to LA, New York, Chicago, it's not going to work.
No, not even Vegas anymore because the Raiders are going to be there, so it doesn't make sense. Unless he's waiting for 2020 for the Vegas arena, which, think about it, that's where your Super Bowl could be hosted, the XFL Super Bowl version.
That's not
should
a bad
be
idea.
open by then.
Yeah.
Which actually, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe that's why he's waiting, but we'll see. And also Los Angeles opens around that time too, so maybe that's why he's holding off, but we'll see. Before we go, I know we only got a couple minutes or so, but the Royal Rumble is this
6
weekend.
minutes.
You and I are
We're
going to
good.
be watching it.
We're gonna watch it together, right?
Yeah, of course we are. Yeah, I'm going to set up my little laptop and that I can view you. We can yell at each other because we won't be able to hear. It's going to be it's fun. I enjoyed that part too. Do you have any predictions? The Raw 25 before we get into Royal Rumble. I'm sorry, I missed the Raw 25 note. I think that is indicative of how I felt. I didn't really care for it. It happened. It was kind of a weird showcase of their veterans, but more just they came out, said hello, and left. Undertaker came out, said something. If you read the transcript, it makes no sense. If you watch it, it doesn't make any sense. Is he coming back or not? Did you enjoy it at all, Franco?
No. There wasn't a lot of wrestling, and there wasn't even any substance. So no storylines really got moved. There's minimal wrestling. Like all the hallmarks of stuff we liked can't be done anymore.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I enjoyed Christian coming back for the Peep Show. That's about it.
Yeah. I enjoyed Jericho doing his list thing while wearing his Alpha Club shirt, which I thought was really funny. He's not even wearing a WWE Jericho shirt.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. Like, I enjoyed his little sketches that they posted online. They were fun. But it was just weird. Like, and then speaking of the Royal Rumble, there really wasn't any build toward it. And they hot-shotted the end of Raw 25 with essentially Lesnar coming out, getting thrown through a table at the end. So, no, and I don't like it when they don't emphasize the Rumble. I mean, I remember when you and I would watch in college, there would be matches or a tournament for the number 30 spot, or there'd be, you would know, this, if you win this match, the loser of this match gets number 10, the winner gets number 20. And it was like fun things they do to make you invested. So at least you knew what was going to happen. Now all they do is make announcements online of this guy's in, and then you do the math and you're like, all right, so I think we're going to expect maybe about 12 to 14 Franco NXT or veteran superstars. And I think that number is the same in the women's match.
Yeah, it'll be interesting if they plug in because the numbers don't match up yet, and they didn't put emphasis on it. I'm trying to care. This is traditionally my favorite match. Yeah. I'm having a hard time. I want to see the Women's Royal Rumble. I'm worried that they didn't think it out all the way, and we're going to be stuck with a hodgepodge. And then the regular Royal Rumble has no build, and I'm looking forward to the Kofi Kingston moment where he does something ridiculous. Eventually, Strowman and Kane will go on a streak of eliminating a ton of people if Strowman somehow sneaks his way in one of those 14. And I think that's about it.
Who do you think is going to win the men's Royal Rumble, Franco?
It hurts my heart to say this, but Roman Reigns. You don't take the title off of Reigns and give it to Miz at Raw 25 if he wasn't going to rebound with a Royal Rumble win. So I think Roman Reigns wins, eventually setting up the dream match that is Lesnar versus Reigns that Vince has always wanted and will get.
I think I'm going to go with this. I'm going to go with Lesnar loses to Braun Strowman and then enters the Rumble and wins it.
Oh.
And then I think there's a pay-per-view in between.
Elimination Chamber.
Yeah. I think that's where, or is that SmackDown though? That might be just SmackDown.
Oh, it might be just SmackDown. You're right.
But I think in between is when you see Strowman and Reigns with the Miz interfering because the rumors that they're penciling in a Braun Strowman Miz match for WrestleMania for the Intercontinental Championship. So you kind of hold off on Strowman fully blooming, and I think that's how you get through the back door to Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, because I think it'd be so obvious, and I hope they learned their lesson from the last 3 years that the obvious pick never works out for them.
Yeah,
and they have to retcon it anyway. So we'll see. But Franco, that's about our time, man.
it really is. I mean, it's sad, but we're against the wall.
We're against the wall at AMP premiere. So Franco, what did you learn today?
Not even related to the show, but I learned about a half an hour earlier that I hate Grey's Anatomy, and it's a terrible television show that's awfully self-important. And if hospitals actually work that way, I might be better stitching myself up in my bathroom. What did you learn today?
I learned that I wish you talked to me about this beforehand, because I would have told you that Grey's Anatomy is a terrible show. All right, everybody, for the BFF show, I'm Brendan.
I'm Franco. Watch us instead of Grey's Anatomy. Peace.
Yeah, we're better. Bye.